Hi guys, welcome back to another Flip That Zoo series. So today we are going to be looking at this area. Honestly, I was a little perplexed as to what I was going to do right away. So I just kind of hovered over everything and thought about it really hard because I was like, I don't like any of this. Like the only thing I want to keep there is the bug and reptiles like sanctuary thing over there with the exhibits in it. Everything else beyond the hippos, that area right there is where we're clearing out. We're basically getting rid of all that junk, and it's gonna look like this. So pretty. Once we got it all cleared out, I didn't think you guys needed to watch me delete a whole bunch of habitats because it's literally just the delete button. It's deleting everything there. And then when I realized I cleaned that entire area out, including what was a staff area for this section of the zoo, I was like, oh, we're gonna need another staff area. And I was like, okay, so let's make a staff area tucked in back here where I couldn't think of how to move all those other buildings that I really didn't want to move. And I was like, do I really want to put another habitat tucked into the back area? I'm like, I could have, but I was like, this would probably be a better area for a staff area for the exhibits that are right here and for the habitats that we're about to build, you'll see. So I was like, let's just make a fancier staff area. So I used matching wood to what the reptile house is and made it all cohesive, so it kind of matched the reptile building. So I used this natural wood, but I also end up using some of the brick that you see over there in the flooring of the bug and reptile house over there. So it all starts to look really cohesive and really pretty at the end. I just kind of speed build through all of this so you can see my process. It's a little strange at times, but what I wanted is I didn't want just a bunch of blocky buildings. I wanted plant boxes, and I wanted a place to where it could look very natural and blendy and pretty at the same time, because when you're building a staff area, yes, it's going to be more basic part of the zoo, but I want my staff to be happy. So I wanted to have a nice, comfortable staff area, which includes, of course, nice foliage and just something nice to look at every day when you come to work. It also makes it so it ties together the zoo better. And it does get a little bit tricky with some of the pathing, but that's pretty common with Planet Zoo. You just, like, what I had envisioned in my head versus kind of what ended up happening was slightly different, but that's okay. I mean, that's kind of part of working with what you have and kind of being willing to bend just a bit. The cool thing is I can also slide some of these pieces in and make it fit better. I tried to make it grid relative, basically, so that it'd be easier for me to slide pieces in, but sometimes when you try to do something, it never quite turns out the way you want, but it's okay. That's part of Planet Zoo. That's part of just kind of working with what you got, tracing outside the lines, and figuring out a way to make it work anyway, even when it's kind of being cranky and doesn't want to work with you. So what I ended up doing is I was trying to figure out pathing here. You can see how I'm trying to kind of figure it out. I'm going to kind of skip this part so you guys don't have to watch me jank with pathing for 10 million years. Hang on a minute while I just move this building out of the way so we don't have to look at it while we're messing with pathing. As you can see, we've kind of moved forward a little bit in the video to where I have got the pathing laid down. Now I'm just making it look pretty with the building. I'm not worried about this looking perfect because I want it to look good. I'm not worried about the staff kind of walking through the steps just a little bit because they will. I know there is a trick that I've seen some creators using where they make stairs and they put these over the staircases. I could not seem to get it to lay just right, so I gave up and I just did it the way I knew I could and moved on with my day. And sometimes that's just what you have to do. If you're just trying to get a creative vision and you're not too worried about having the staff walk through the walls, so to speak, or walk through the parts, because you just want to have the look and the feel of the zoo you're looking for, then sometimes you just got to kind of bypass it and just move on with your day. And that's what I did. And then I created this outside building structure, and then it came to where I was going to have to outline the entire thing, which I know not everybody in the zoo can see the back or the sides of this building, but I would feel incomplete if I did not do it all the way. So here's me fiddling with the pathing. Again, yeah, I know pathing is one of those things that kills you in this game, but I had a vision and I wanted it to look a certain way, so I fiddled with it until I got it figured out. And you'll see me fiddle with it several more times before I give in and figure out exactly what I wanted, which was just not working out in my head. So I ended up doing this instead. So I just put some nice concrete steps to kind of cover up this pathing and make it all look cohesive. Yes, I have to straighten it out a few times to make it not look so crazy. I have to add an extra concrete because I realized that one is really long. But it all gets clean and it gets pretty, and we just surround the rest of the building and make sure everything's tied off nice and neat, tucked in just the way it's supposed to be, and yeah, just basically finalizing the building in the way it's supposed to be and flattening the terrain all the way around so that I don't have to fiddle with the wood too much, adding that extra concrete step in like I mentioned just a second ago, and connecting the pathing. And that actually turned out much nicer than I had planned. Like everything I had in my head envisioned is pretty much what we have in front of you. There's only a couple things I had to tweak and change, and then it's just a matter of adding in foliage. Unlike the other areas, which you guys saw me place, which you guys will see me place here in a minute, which is all going to be one type of foliage, I wanted this to be various and fun, and just the thought in my head was that the caretakers were like, okay, what plants do we have left over for this area that we don't need for the habitats? Oh, we have these plants and we have these plants. Oh, and we can add some of these. And it's kind of like the staffing area kind of gets a mix of all the plants that were left over from previous habitat builds, which makes it look really flush and pretty, but also I feel like it has like a little story behind it. Like there's so many random types of plants in here, and usually when you go to a place, they're very cohesive with the same type of flowers and plants. So I felt like it kind of gave it a little bit of a story, and it was kind of fun in my opinion. I knew I wanted to put roofing on this as well, so I wanted to go ahead and make sure I put signs outside of here. I opted for the flat against the wall versus the sticking out. I don't know why, that's the way I wanted it to look. So just adding some sign work so that as we move along or as we do things, we can kind of have a nice vision of what signs are being used, what buildings we already have. And this is a full staff area. We will create smaller staff areas that are basically just keeper huts and staff rooms sprinkled around the area, just so they can, kind of have a place to rest when they're working. But I did want to create at least 2 or 3. I'm probably going to have one more somewhere in the zoo, maybe 2 more somewhere in the zoo, of full-fledged staff buildings, or staff, big staff buildings, basically fully functioning, everything you need, workshops, research centers, vet centers, vaccine rooms, quarantine buildings, jeez, my brain. And then I wanted to put a bunch of lighting in to make sure this place popped at night and made it easy for the staff to access, because it is tucked here in the back, so it's not going to be around any other pathing or walkways. So I tucked some lighting into the garden boxes and along the walls and along some of the flooring. And this is what I was just talking about a minute ago, how this area over here is, I'm moving the foliage, adjusting the foliage, basically what I'm doing is I'm going to make everything in this area be these nice, I think they're African daisies is what they're called. I could be wrong in the name, but I'm pretty sure they're African daisies. I should probably check that before I commit to that. But anyway, so this entire area is just going to be covered in these flowers, and it's going to be gorgeous. Anyway, I thought to having kind of the same flower in these areas kind of ties them all together as on purpose versus on accident. Kind of, I don't know, that's just the kind of feel I got from it. Like it's happy little accidents and all on purpose versus versus not on purpose. I guess, you know, just like throwing random flowers in, which I know some like habitats, especially like the employee building we just did, it looked really good for them to have nice variation. But I also think it's beautiful to have the same type of flower as well. I think it's just like, I guess depends the situation. I'm also changing the shapes and the sizes of the flowers and sprinkling them in so it looks more flush and less straight line or copy pasted. I was trying to think of something to put right here in this, like the pathing, I fiddled with it for forever, and I just kind of ended up keeping it like this. And I was like, yes, we're just going to drown this area in these flowers. So everything in this, like, I guess square is African daisies. And by the way, I did look it up and confirmed they are African daisies. So this is area I did not move anything, but I did add to it. I wanted the buildings to, you know, have a little bit of flair to them. I also ended up adding some education, you know, like the education for the world, like the amphibian and like endangered species type, those long, thin education signs. I put them throughout here. And I also, you know, just put up some basic blinders because when you're walking around a zoo, you're not going to see all the backstage stuff. It's going to be kind of tucked away and not seen. It's going to be, you know, you can see it from a distance if you're like at the right height or elevation. You'll know it's there, but it's not going to be bold and in your face. So I was putting up some of these little wall blinders just as a, yeah, we have staff back there and you guys probably can kind of see it if you like, you know, angle your face just right or kind of look between the wood planks or something like, you know, sometimes you do when you're being a little nosy when it comes to these things. But it's not going to be super obvious, you know, it's going to be tucked away. It's going to be, they're trying to keep the ambiance of this is the zoo and this is what you can see versus this is where the staff do staffy things. So I put little divider walls up here and over there, as well as in a different location, which you guys will see shortly. It's basically just to kind of keep the ambiance, keep the zoo feel, keep everybody kind of in their element. You can see the staff kind of poking over the fence there. And if you're coming down from the hippo viewing, of course you're going to see the staff, which is why I wanted it to look nice, but I also didn't want it to be like a centerpiece, like an obvious centerpiece, but I did want it to look nice. So if you were coming down from, you know, viewing the hippos, you would see the staff building in the distance and be like, oh, that's a nice looking building. And you would see the little signs for staff and you'd be like, oh, okay, that's where they take care of the animals, is over there. And of course there's going to be an entrance to staff, like just past the reptile and amphibian building, bug building. You'll see it all. So I'm trying to fill all this area in once again with more flowers. And then I realized I had this other square over here that needed to be taken care of. I hated these black circles, so I got rid of those because they didn't quite sit right in that little triangle. But I knew these guys would fit just right. At least I tried it out and it fit perfectly in this little triangle without the circles. The circles just made it look out of place. So I was like, perfect, I'll put these guys in here, and guess what I'm going to put in there underneath their feet? I bet you guys will never guess. Well, if you didn't guess, we're going to frame it with some nice rock work, and I decided to go with the grayish white that the planters had. And then, yes, we're going to fill it in with more daisies. I don't know if you guys guessed that or not, but 100% filling it in with more daisies. So we're just gonna blast this rock work out real quick, because nobody wants to see me lay rocks for 10 million years. No one wants to see that. I mean, or if you do, you're welcome to slow this video down and you know, watch it in slow motion. If watching laying rocks really is your thing, you know, feel free. But for me, once I've seen a few rocks laid and I know how it works, I don't need to see you lay it 10 million times. And that's just kind of how I like it. So I figure I will give you my perspective. So I filled that in, and guess what? Here comes the mulch and the African daisies. So mulch laying. I've had some people go, why do you lay mulch? And I think the reason I lay it down, even though it's almost completely covered by flowers, is you can see the peeking in between. You can kind of see the in-between spaces, and it gives it this nice, like, tied in, complete fill. Now, the reason I didn't do it up against the sign, up against the buildings, is because it's not a placed planting box. This is a raised above the ground. The rocks were put in place. It's a framed area. So I figured the framed areas definitely get the mulch, because that's something that, you know, us humans took time to frame. So we would put the background on before we put in the flowers. So I also realized that the employee area, while it was polished, it needed some pizzazz. So I wanted to add some of these flower boxes around it, just to kind of give it a little bit more oomph, a little bit more something something, I guess you could say, because it did look a little plain. Like, every time I looked over there, I was like, it's not quite what I was hoping for. So I add these and I adjust them, and you'll see me kind of fiddle around with them. I also fiddle around with the flowers because I didn't want identical flowers in all the planters. So I delete some of them, and then I replace them with singles and like doubles of that type of flower. Just so there's some variation. It doesn't look like the exact same plants just shoved in the same box next to each other. Anyway, so, and that can also be a little tip if you guys are wondering how to make it look different but kind of copy paste and use the same stuff. Yeah. So another thing that I've noticed, trim work around buildings is really great. If you're trying to figure out how to make it all look cohesive and tie it together and give it some pop, definitely try using like planks or wood that like is a contrasting color to the whatever material you're using. So since I was using the light wood, I actually went in and grabbed the dark wood from the, I think it's from the Arctic pack. But yeah, I thought the contrast was beautiful, so I worked it in there. Then I grabbed the fencing from like the crocodile area because I kind of figured it made it all very cohesive. Plus I thought it would look nice in this area because it's a nice wide fence versus a tight fence. I also didn't want to use the red fencing that I had previously used because I don't want this area to be like a centerpiece. I don't want people to necessarily look this way, but I want it to look polished and completed. So I wanted the fencing, but I didn't want the red pops that would make people look at it more. And to polish it all out, guess what I put and fill in this area with? More flowers. Don't worry, I actually skipped past this part, so you guys don't have to watch me lay more flowers. But that's what I meant by this little walk-through square. This little area would be filled in with 100% daisies. The only thing I do wish is I wish we could change the coloring on the daisies so that I can make like little white ones, or maybe like pinky white, like a little off-colored from the previous pink color. Just a little bit of variation, because I know when, you know, the flowers, they, you know, they cross-pollinate and they can get little different color variations. I think that would be really neat. Other than that, I love the pops of color I have in there, and I think it's fabulous. Now this is the staff only sign, because this is going to be, of course, the staff area, which attaches to the reptile house, the bug house. And we want to make sure that everyone is aware this is where staff goes. Even though it's pretty obvious, but you know, there's going to be signs. At zoos, there are signs. I'm also thinking I need to, at some point in time, put signs around my zoo that kind of I guess, point the directions of where which animals are. So as people are perusing the zoo, they can, know which way they've gone and which way they need to go. That's something we'll add eventually. I'm not freaking out over it yet. Then while I was glancing over at this, I realized the aardvarks, I didn't put anything around their watering pool and it looked a little bit plain. The aardvarks do not like a lot of foliage. They just aren't into the foliage. So I figured I could kind of like pop a few rocks and then of course like a little African daisy just as a pop of color against the rocks. Just to kind of give them a little bit of something right here next to their water. So it's a little private watering area. They don't have to be stared at through those rocks. And yeah, I figured just a little flower would be nice. Now, I don't think armadillos get shy. I can't remember if they do. I need to look that up, because if they do, I might change this mesh fencing to like maybe a glass fencing with a one-way viewing. But I'm not sure. I need to actually look into that. Or if you're watching this video and let me know, so I know if you think I should change the fencing to be one-way glass so that the aardvarks aren't being stared at if they're nervous or shy. So yeah, this is it. This is what we've done so far. That blank canvas, I cannot wait to put things there. The Wetlands pack just came out. When I was taping this, it hadn't quite come out yet. And yeah, so we're gonna put some of the wetlands creatures in here, but we're also gonna put flamingos. So this is our final product, guys. I hope you guys like it. I was super excited. I feel like this kind of just paved the way for our new wetlands pack that I plan on adding some beautiful creatures from that pack in here, because platypuses, you guys. I've been over the moon about platypuses. Or platypi. So let me know if you like this and what you think, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! I hope you guys liked it. Please subscribe. Thank you so much for coming. Ring that bell. All those really cool YouTube things, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.